Indeed, these ladies are feisty, hard-skinned, and they're ready to take over the arts industry by storm. Let's go straight into it. Ladies, how are you?
We're good, Pizzy. How are you doing?
I'm good, hey. You know what? I was trying to get a hold of you for the past week or so. It's been difficult. I think it's...
We ain't that difficult to get, Pizzy.
Oh, well, okay. You know, we have to be a bit
weren't trying hard
dramatic for
enough.
the cameras, you know? It has to be dramatic. Nonetheless, I'm really excited that you guys are on the show today, and I believe that our audience are going to learn quite a lot, especially, you know, in this era where everyone thinks that they can be a promoter without actually putting in the work. That brings me to my first question. I want to know the early years. Like, you guys were not in the same country. Then you came to Zimbabwe. You just step in and, you know, say, look, this is a business idea we have to run with. Let's just go. What were your earlier years like exactly?
I mean, we didn't just come back and get straight into it. It took us some time, probably about 2 years or 3 years when we got back. So, I mean, we love the Zim social scene. We love the music scene. We used to go to Book Cafe a lot. So when Book Cafe shut down, we're like, you know what? We still want to watch local talent in Zimbabwe, and there was nowhere to go. Well, nowhere to go that was chilled and, you know, funky like Book Cafe was. So we sat down one Saturday and we were so bored, and we decided, what are we going to do this weekend? And we wanted to listen to live music, but we wanted it in a different kind of setting. We wanted to be outdoors, we wanted to be, you know, with family, we wanted to have the blankets, we wanted to be a relaxed atmosphere, right? So we decided, you know what, let's Google, let's try find out what's out there, what other countries are doing, and see if it's something we can bring into Zimbabwe. So it's not something that we created, it's nothing new. We just copied and pasted it in Zimbabwe. That's exactly what we did. So yeah, we started Googling one day and we saw a concept we liked. We decided, you know what, let's do this and let's start our first one in December. This was in November, and the 8th of December 2013, we had our very first Unplugged Zim.
Wow.
Yeah.
I missed that one. Like the first one, I think I was working somewhere.
Oh, you're working.
And you didn't invite me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you didn't invite me.
I have a question for you, Pedzi. When was your first Unplugged?
My first Unplugged?
Yeah.
Like on the 8th of December.
2016, more than likely.
You know, I was actually looking at your bio. You studied law and sociology and broadcast journalism. Come on, Chieza. I would not expect you to be in the arts industry. What brought you into this? What made you agree? Were you forced?
You know, to be honest, I think a lot of people are surprised when they hear what our educational backgrounds are and what our professional experience has been. By profession, I'm actually a communication strategist. So in spite of having studied law and sociology and having done broadcast journalism at postgrad level, I worked as a communication strategist. But really, essentially, I've always been a creative. If I'd had it my way, I would have studied drama or something as whimsical as that. But I've always been a creative, and you know, we say it, and I think it's something that kind of just rolls off our tongues now, but it is genuinely true. It's our passion for live music that got us into this art space that we find ourselves in now. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So I'm very keen on knowing, because one of the hardest things in business, like I think we all would agree, is finding the right partner. What made you guys trust each other? Was there a bond in the past? Like, did you grow up together, kindergarten, shared sweets? Or you just, you know, from school to school? You know, how did it start?
I'm still looking for that business partner that you're describing. No, I'm joking. We're natural friends. Our family history is that our parents went to high school together, went to university together, so they've known each other. Our parents, that is, have known each other for a very, very long time. And we didn't really have much choice, you know, but to be friends. But it's just as well that we discovered sort of in our teens that we got along really well.
And Alina, in this particular partnership, what do you hate and literally would rip your hair out based on her character?
Chieza is a much better speaker than I am. I hate that so much. I cannot stand her.
Is that why you never picked my calls?
Sorry?
Is that why you never pick my calls?
Yeah, I don't pick up. That's why I let Chieza do it.
Okay.
No, I don't think I've got anything that I would say as a partner that I cannot stand about Chieza at all, which is funny because when we went into it, we're like, oh, okay, we're gonna have certain challenges. But I think we both know our strengths and we both know our weaknesses. So it's made it a whole lot easier for us to work together. So we really don't rub each other that much, except little things like why are you passing through KFC when one chicken in, like things like that, or why are you why are you wearing the same clothes that I said I would wear today, like things like that. Those are the annoying things, but nothing big at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the teams, the last time I spoke to you, you said the both of you handle literally everything until the day. Is it based on the fact that you couldn't find a team to run around with the other things, or you guys are control freaks?
Two things.
Yeah.
One of them is, when you're starting a business, you want to know everything that's happening in your business. So you want to build your business from ground up. So you want to know from, negotiating with artists. You want to know from, where to place the toilets. You want to know everything from beginning to end. So whether it's operations, whether it's financial. So when you're starting your business, it's always good to know, to be hands-on and to know what to do with the business. And then number two is, when you're starting a business, you don't have money, right? So you don't have money. We didn't have money for a very long time. So we couldn't find people to help us or to work with us in Unplugged for that kind of help, to help us with other things like administration or operations and things like that.
Like Chieza, you were also outside of Zim for quite a long time, overseas, you're a diasporian. Tell me, in terms of the work ethic with local artists that you've worked with, service providers and other promoters, what's your take on that? What have you observed that really completely pisses you off?
That really pisses me off.
Don't be polite.
No, no, I will be very frank. Nothing that springs to mind. It might, Alina might remember a couple of things. I would say actually quite the opposite. Our experience has been very, very positive. We haven't had any super negative experiences with any artists. They've been really, really excited to be a part of Unplugged. I mean, this is especially in the later years. But even at the very beginning, they've just been very supportive. And ultimately, I think it's just recognizing the fact that we're providing a platform, right?
Yeah.
And connecting them with audiences that are really difficult for them to connect with in any case. So I think there's a certain level of appreciation. I think as well the fact that we, as much as possible, we respect artists, we honor every commitment that we make to them. They're cool with us. We don't have any issues. I would say maybe once or twice we've had oh yeah, we have one issue.
It's getting juicy now.
We had one issue with a supplier who was just, this was at the very beginning, and you get into a lot of these relationships by talking to people and saying, look, this is at the beginning. We're right at the beginning of what we want to do, but ultimately this is the bigger picture. This is where we want to get to. And you find, because you're the little guy, right? And the people who've been in this business for a much longer time than you, and they feel like it's perhaps easy for them to just ditch you, and that could be the end of your idea. So we had an experience like that with a supplier who basically just said, after a very, very minor complaint that we made, said, okay, fine, well, I don't need you, bounce. And we were like, what? Deuces. And we moved right on, looking for the next person. But I mean, other than that, I can't really think of any. Can you think of anything that's been super, super negative? Maybe?
Oh, she's got something.
Not super negative. Something we're still working on. I think the only challenge we have at the moment is trying to make sure we get our artists there for sound check. That is a huge issue, because it's very important to us, because we need to make sure the sound is right. We work on a schedule. So when we work on that schedule, when you get on stage to do your sound check, within the 40 minutes they've given you, and you do your sound check for 15 minutes, then you're just left with the remainder of the time to do your set. Because we need to finish at 10. It's a family-friendly event, so we do it for a reason. So it's very important for the music to be perfect and not to try it out when we now have paying audience coming to watch the show.
So out of interest, I'm sure that within the viewers, we've got artists, we've got promoters, we've got those that are trying to get into the game. What is wrong with the arts industry of Zimbabwe? I saw in a post that you tweeted at some point that the government, the corporates, they don't support. But can we frankly say that the quality locally is worth promotion?
We tweeted that?
Shiedza?
We didn't tweet that. That wasn't us. No, we, generally speaking, we enjoy a fairly friendly relationship with our regulator. You know, we fall under the National Arts Council. We interact with them once a year. We are licensed by them. I think we can't say that there's anything that's we've never had any clashes with them or anything like that.
How about
But I
other
think,
entertainment promoters, not necessarily the council?
oh, okay, so like,
yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, naturally we have competitors, right? But still, I would say there hasn't been anybody that's been particularly nasty to us in the same way that we haven't been particularly nasty to anybody. But yeah, it's a competitive industry. And for the most part, it's male dominated. And here too, like super small, tiny ladies. So we expect it, but you know, it's nothing unhealthy. It's sport. It's competition. And what it does do for us is it makes sure that we're on our A game, and we're always having to push ourselves. We're always having to think ahead, and we're always having to innovate.
In terms of the artists, can we safely say that Zimbabwean artists are quality enough? Because I've discovered, I saw a lot of posts that the radios don't play our artists well enough. We more or less digress to international acts. We've had complaints that the international acts are being paid more. What's wrong with the artist side of the industry, and how can they improve?
Well, I think there's definitely room for improvement in terms of how much, in terms of how diverse the content, the local content could be on radio. I think we've done an amazing job over the last 15, 20 years to make sure that we're getting Zim content on the radio. And we know our artists and we love our artists, but it would be great if we had just a much broader pool of artists on the radio. I mean, there's very few artists that are in Afro jazz that are on the radio. There's very few artists that are in neo soul that are on the radio. You don't get a whole lot of hip hop on the radio. But sometimes when you speak to and hear from people in radio, it's a very large part of it is about relationship building, and the artists need to spend much more time doing that, I feel.
Okay.
But I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think the artistry, like these people that we have at most, I would say 98% of the people we've had at Unplugged are amazing.
Yeah.
These people have got amazing vocals. I mean, there is Silent, who won in Hollywood. You've got all these people who go to all these international shows and they win. Like, I think we've got very good vocalists, a lot of good producers in Zimbabwe. It's only that I don't think, like what Chiaz is saying, I don't think there's that much airplay here, and I don't think they've got the capital or financial resources for them to make them bigger or to leave the country and really experiment by themselves. That's where Unplugged comes in. So we're trying to build that platform to get them recognized by all these international festivals, by all these international promoters. You know, that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are a marketing and a finance guru. You also studied hospitality.
Yes.
I have a very interesting question for you.
Oh, what's the interesting question? I'm
Maybe
nervous.
balance is some kind of spreadsheet.
Okay, I'm not going to ask if you're the one who handles the cash in the business.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. So I think I'm going to be more of her friend, you know. But my question is based on this: what makes Unplugged as an organization different from? I mean, you look, we've got, as of July 2016. The record based on the National Arts Council statistic, we've got close to 65 promoters. What makes you different? Are you not just going to be one of those organizations that comes in for the money? And because everybody says we're here for the industry, we want to grow it.
Yeah.
But what makes Unplugged different?
I feel what we believe in. Unplugged is basically artist-centric, right? We believe in the arts and we believe in the actual artists. I mean, obviously, in business, any kind of business, you need to make money to grow, right?
Yeah.
But we're growing to grow the arts industry here in Zimbabwe. If you look at our playlist, if you look at our lineup, it's basically 3 out of 4 artists are up-and-coming talent. If it was just money-based, there wouldn't be up-and-coming talent.
Okay.
So what it's done so far by bringing up-and-coming talent is you've got these corporates coming to Unplugged. So these corporates come, they watch these artists, they go home, they call us, they're like, okay, this is this company. We really want to. There's this lady who sang. She was number 3. She was number 3. Can you give us her name so that she can come and perform at a corporate function? And that gives us so much joy. And you should hear these artists when they call. They're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for this opportunity. Like, I'm actually getting gigs because of this." So that's what we want, and that's what we believe in.
Cheza, there's a question I have specifically for you. You said you're a strategist and you're a creative. And Unplugged is, I can basically term it as a holding company. You've got different arms that are stretching out of it. You've got your corporate social responsibility side. You have your Unplugged, the event, and then you've got smaller events coming up. In terms of promotion, is there future with Unplugged? Other than just having the artists be, I'm going to be brutal with this one, be a cash cow or element, is there going to be an extra step you take with the artists in terms of promotion, actual grooming and building up of them?
So, yeah, perhaps just to clarify rather. So Unplugged Zim, that's the sort of umbrella organization, and then Unplugged is an event property that's sort of owned by Unplugged Zim. We also have other event properties such as In the Cut, which is a much more small kind of intimate listening session type experience. And then another sort of very important arm of the business is as you've mentioned, is the artist development side of it, where we do workshops and things like that, which is basically trying to equip the actual artists with the skills and tools and the knowledge to be able to make them competitive at a global level. And then the CSR is something that we sort of do. It's woven into our business. As Alina, I think, rightfully said, we're an artist-centric organization. We put music and artistry at the heart. And we know that, we've had probably probably well over 200 artists pass through our stage. And I would say, more than 3/4 of those have been completely unknown artists that have purely by experiencing a stage at that level, exposed themselves to different audiences, but also been forced to do extra work to make sure that they're meeting a certain standard in order to perform before that audience, right? Yeah. So that performance experience in itself does a lot to develop the artist. But there's certain types of skills that artists we've noticed and we've learned by interacting with them and talking to them, learned that there's really gaps in terms of knowledge and experience. So things like, as an artist, how do you package yourself? How do you commoditize your music? How do you market yourself? How do you develop your personal brand? And then also the artistry itself. So what is songcraft? How do you write a hit song for radio? Things like that. And I think the last sort of 15 years, given the kinds of economic challenges that we've had, there's been a lot of underinvestment in the arts in general. A lot of time and money used to be put into sending artists abroad, putting together mechanisms here that would teach artists those kinds of skills. And nobody's really been doing that. So we feel that that's kind of part of our responsibility to be able to do that. So definitely a big part of Unplugged is going to be workshopping and bringing in industry experts and industry veterans and really bringing in so much local knowledge, right, that exists and is just not being tapped into, to share with this younger generation that's just not benefited from an environment where, the arts is prioritized.
Okay. Yeah. And Alina, you guys are, when we began, I said you guys are hard-skinned. And being females in the game, did you have to prove yourself somehow?
The arts definitely is a difficult game, but surprisingly, actually, I don't know if it's because, I don't know what it was, but we never had to prove ourselves to other promoters. That's one thing. We never had to prove ourselves to suppliers. I mean, they want money, right?
Yeah.
I guess the only challenge that I can say we had is if you set up a meeting and you're going to see a sponsor or you're going to see a partner or you're going to see someone, right, someone who would like to sponsor the event, you get there and then, so they stand around and they're like, so is your boss coming, right? And then you tell them, but...
I'm the boss.
We're the boss, right?
Okay.
And then they're like, you too? You short women?
Oh, shame.
Yeah, we're the short women who are behind Unplugged.
Okay.
So I think that's it. That's the only, I don't know if there's did we really face any other negativity? Or,
Well, I think the only other thing that would have been a challenge, but I think it's part of the course, is that people need you to prove yourself before they put any kind of money into you, right? So, it goes without saying that, we had waited a long, long time before we got our first sort of batch of meaningful sponsorship. And that really was just us sinking money month on month,
Yeah.
until the event grew to a certain level where we couldn't be ignored anymore. So I would say that was a challenge, but
It's natural, yeah.
yeah, that's natural. That's
Well, okay,
expected.
let's just leave it there for now, and we'll get back with more questions just after this break. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Mentor Us, inspire, develop, and impact that young entrepreneur into their game mode. Today we're joined with Alina and Chiedza, the co-founders of Unplugged. We have a special question for you. They say that whenever you want to pursue a vision, it's not the problem with where you want to go, but the major problem is what you have to leave behind. As two co-founders to one of the most amazing brands in the industry, what are the things that you had to leave behind and sacrifice to get where you are now?
well, firstly, our pay, because we had to invest in this company by ourselves with our salaries that we used to get from the companies we used to work for. So that was at least 2.5 to 3 years of our salaries went into that. So we gave up a lot. So we didn't advance our lives in any way because we were investing in this dream that we had. That's one. Number two, what else did we give up?
The salary is definitely, that's a monetary thing. But I think there's also, given that we had different professions, a certain point in the business came where we realized, or in the journey came, when we realized that in order to grow this into a proper, serious business, we had to be completely dedicated and committed to it without any other distractions. And so ultimately, both of us had to leave our jobs, had to leave the companies that we were working with. And you to some degree, you miss your old job, you miss the reliability of having a paycheck every single month. But absolutely no regrets.
And what are the three major skills that you'd advise an entrepreneur to brace as they engage within this trip of business? The three skills.
For me, one of the things that I had to start wrapping my head around was understanding the financial side of the business. I was very, very reliant on Alina to handle that. And she still, because we recognize that we have different strengths as individuals, and she's really great with numbers, and she has a finance background. But I also realized that I had to understand that part of the business too, because she might have a sick day, and I have to understand how does she put the budgets together and all of that kind of stuff, So I would say definitely understanding the financial side of your business, and you really, really have to understand so thoroughly every single cost. There's so many hidden costs that prop up. So for me, that would be one thing.
For me, it would be going into something that you've got passion for. Because a lot of people tend to go into business because they want to make money. And when you just want to make money, you don't get far. You give up easily. So if something you've got passion for, like what we have with Unplugged, we went on for so long, being broke, not making any money, but it's because it's something we believed in, something we've got passion in. So you definitely need to have passion in something.
I would say finally, benchmarking yourself, not just against what is around you, right? So really looking beyond what you see around you. I guess that's really, I suppose that's innovation, right?
Yeah.
Is looking beyond what's within your confines and saying, okay, what is the global standard in terms of what I want to do? What are the new innovations in different countries? What are people doing differently? And ultimately, what do I want my USP to be? What's my unique offering? And working on delivering that essentially.
I like the word that you used, innovation. In terms of Unplugged as a brand, we've seen that the new trends that come up. You've recently launched a platform where the guests or the attendees get to tell you who they want on board. Again, recently you went and launched in Bulawayo, and it was the turnout was really, really good. Now, innovation is a mission for you guys, and ideas, the creation and all that. How long do you sit on an idea before you release it? Whether it's based on fear of premature death of your idea, or if it's the right time, how long do you stay with an idea? And how do you come up with it?
So one of the things that we started doing probably in the last 2 years is really prioritizing strategic planning. So at the beginning, it's actually at the end of each year, we sit down as a team. There's 4 of us in the team, and
Five. Yeah.
including you, Feds, there's 5 of us. So initially what we did is we came up with what's our medium to long term strategic plan, right? So what do we want to achieve by 2020, for instance? And so we identified what our key goals were, and then what the interventions were in order for us to reach that goal. Identifying what our key challenges and issues are, and again, putting in place some mitigations, I suppose, to make the ride smoother. But essentially, we come up with ideas at the end of each year. We set clear deadlines in terms of when we intend to achieve them, and we set responsibilities. So X is responsible for driving this particular aspect of the business. Alina is responsible for driving this particular aspect of a business. Depending on the scale of the idea, if it's a really huge idea, we're happy to sit on an idea for a whole year until we're so sure we've refined it to the extent that we feel comfortable rolling it out. But sometimes, you think you have to be dynamic, right? So you'll think on your feet, you'll think about an idea, and within 2 weeks you're rolling it out. So it really depends on the scale of the idea and the resources required to execute it, I think.
That's an amazing point in terms of the ideas. But I mean, whenever great ideas come up, there are things that you actually have to sacrifice, and some of these things are people. So what are the bridges? What are the bridges that you had to burn in your mission for success?
I would say, I wouldn't necessarily call them bridges that we burnt, but people that are in our lives that we just had to say, you're just another voice, and we're just going to completely disregard you. Being women in this kind of industry, there are all sorts of stereotypes.
Yes.
I mean, you'd hear people who are extremely close to you, whether it's friends, whether it's family friends, whether it's family, saying things like, and they make all sorts of assumptions about the kind of lifestyle that you lead. They make all sorts of assumptions about what the event is without never having ever attended it. And so that was a really difficult one, I think, on an individual emotional level for us to really reconcile, to say, but these are the people that when they're speaking in your face, they're saying that they're very supportive of the things that you want to achieve, and then you hear some of the things that they say behind your back, and you're like, well, first of all, you know nothing about the business that I do, and if you ever made the effort to come and attend and unplug, then you would understand that, A, it's a family-friendly business, so we're not in the business of doing things that are immoral or anything of that nature, and also just like, really? In 2017, we still have those kind of assumptions that the arts and culture are associated with all of these negative behaviors. These are some of the biggest industries, biggest money-making industries in the world. When you see it in America, you love it, right? You see it on television, you love it. But in Zimbabwe, for some reason, it's something to be looked down upon. I don't know. You can maybe speak.
And Alina, in terms of, you are a holder of 2 degrees. Did you not come back home one day and your family was like, are you crazy? You want to leave that for this? What were there any emotional breakages in your life that you came across, but you had to pursue your goal? Okay.
I came back, I worked professionally, and then I decided, what, Mom, Dad, I want to go into the music industry. And they're like, oh, that's a really good idea, but what do you mean by music industry, right? So I explained to them the concept, and they're like, I think that's a really good concept because you're supporting the arts and culture. That's how they viewed it.
All right.
As with other people don't view it that way. Because I'm like, I really explained it to them. They took time to listen. It took a bit of, not that much convincing, but it took a bit of convincing. But they were like, okay, we understand what your end goal is, and we understand what you're trying to build, so we support it. And they've been supportive throughout. But a lot of people haven't. Like what Chiedza was saying, you tell them, okay, this is what we're in arts and culture, and they're like, what exactly do you do? Oh, we hold a monthly live music event.
You're like,
Oh, my band.
those gals.
Yeah, those girls, those naughty ones. But no, it's not even about that. It's about, they didn't take time to understand what it is that we want to do, like what my family did. So I think once people start watching videos like this, start actually paying attention, and start actually coming to the events and seeing it for themselves, they'll understand. Like we've got family members, aunts, uncles who were like, okay, just come and give it a go. And they're like, oh, so this is what you're actually doing. Yes, this is what we've been doing for the last 4 years.
Give us VIP passes.
I know. Now they come there on a regular basis.
Oh,
so,
cool. And Chiedza, did anybody try to rip your heart out and crush it with this vision that you had in mind?
Just very quickly, can I just add on to what Alina said? I think the family thing is such an important thing as an entrepreneur, to have family that are supportive. It makes a world of difference. I mean, for us to start this business, yes, we sunk both our salaries into this business, but our families gave us a lot of money for this business too.
Okay.
Whether it was as a loan or just as a favor, like, oh, I need to, do X, Y, and Z, or we're short $100 on the stage, they would chip in without even asking.
Wow.
So we're very, very blessed in that respect that both our parents and our siblings and our spouses were incredibly supportive of this, and they ignored the noise as well.
Chiedza, there are so many social issues that are within our country, and it's just like any other country. But what's the one major social problem that you feel Unplugged as a vision has been created to settle and to cover up?
I would say probably one of the biggest challenges that we're facing as a nation is unemployment. And that's not to say that Unplugged employs tons of people, but to be fair, we have a very, very big supply chain. On any given day, we have 65 plus people within our supply chain, right, actually working on the day. But really, I think it's also a question of transforming the attitudes about employment, particularly within the arts. I think there are a lot of parents out there who have very, very talented children who are not necessarily musicians, but they might be people that are amazing at what could potentially be a career broadcast, right? They have a good eye for detail, whatever it might be. And I think there's still a lot of those stereotypes that exist, that if you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not an accountant, if you're not, what's the third one? If you're not a teacher, if you're not a, then you're not worthy in a sense, right? Okay. Or you don't have as much social capital. And that's absolutely false. As I mentioned earlier, some of the biggest, most lucrative industries in this world are entertainment and in the arts. And we really have to work towards transforming that locally. You look at other countries in Africa that have been, made incredible strides in this direction. You look at the entertainment and arts industry in South Africa. You look at what's happened in Nigeria just in 15 years. It's incredible what they've been able to do with their film and music industries. And part of that is changing that mindset of feeling like becoming a musician or becoming a fine artist or becoming a sculptor or becoming that there's no worthwhile contribution that you're making to society. It's through the arts that societies imagine themselves. It's through the arts that we express ourselves, and it's through the arts that we imagine the kind of society that we want to build. So I think bringing back to the fore the importance of the arts towards us, our culture and our heritage, it's absolutely crucial. And we think that in our small little way, by making sure that artists are paid properly, and by also bringing arts right to the doorsteps of these audiences, we feel that we're slowly changing people's minds about music. Yeah.
Wow, this was such an amazing experience. I believe I've learned a lot. The audience has as well. And we've basically gotten a different perspective regarding the arts as a business. Because for us, well, for me at least, I love Unplugged. I hope I'm campaigning enough to get a free pass. But, from the cultural elements that you brought up, to the professionalism, even to the social standing of the arts industry, I believe that a lot of those that are watching, whether you're an artist, you're a promoter, you're a business, you're an investor, Zimbabwe is ripe. It's ready for the next level. And it's people like Alina and Chiedza that are going to help us get to where we actually are supposed to be with the arts. Let's stay connected with the ladies. You can follow them on, what are your handles on social media? We want to keep track and we want to, you know, be a part of your growth.
Okay, we are on Facebook. We're on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, Facebook.
Unplug Zimbabwe. We are also on Twitter, Unplug Zimbabwe, and we're also on Instagram, Unplug Zim.
Perfect. We, again, are very grateful for you being here. We will be getting them on our masterclasses online, so keep following Mentorus on www.mentorus.co.zw. Until we meet again, ciao.